Welcome to the Beyond Business as Usual interview series. My name is Philippe Dubreuil and I am your host. And today I have the pleasure of talking with Alexander Fletcher, who's the owner of Shaken and Stirred Hospitality. Now, I love the name, by the way. It's got a bit of
Thank you.
a disruptor kind of vibe to it, which is kind of cool. I like this. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Welcome. Nice being here.
Excellent. Now, let's just kick it off right now, Alexander, if you
Sure.
don't mind. Just a bit of a history of you as an entrepreneur, your journey, how you got started, and I'd like to know a little bit more about your business. So,
Sure.
floor is yours.
Um, I have been in business for myself going on to about 2 years now. I'm a longtime hospitality vet, so I've done everything from been a cocktail waiter to all the way to GM to national beverage director to pretty much anything that the restaurant does. That's kind of what I did. My entrepreneurial journey happened when I was working for a company that I was the national beverage director for. And we unfortunately lost a gig on one of them. And then it wasn't due to anything that we did personally wrong at all. It was just more of a relationship status thing.
Hmm.
So we'd actually done a really good job. I'd done $25 million in alcohol sales at like I think it was 12% COG return, maybe 16, somewhere around there. It's been a couple of years. So there's nothing wrong with that part of it. But when that we lost that client, I no longer had a position.
Right.
And it was then it dawned on me, it was like, all right, anything I could have done there, I would have still ended up without a job. So if I had done a bad job, I ended up without a job. If I'd done a great job, I would have ended up without a job. So I decided to start my own thing, and I'd always done kind of side business and consulting on this for while I was working for other gigs, just that when in my spare time, if I had it. Um, it helped with my creativity. It helped with um, keeping my ADHD in check, and it helped with just the fulfillment of life and extra bills. So I took a leap and just started a company. Uh, it was daunting at first, uh, and I really took advantage. I took a lot of things for advantage that I didn't realize. Or took a lot of things for granted I didn't realize. Excuse me.
No, that's
Uh,
okay.
like having a team to help you out with kind of everything. Uh, and I always relied on my people a lot because we always grew up together. We did whatever we did. I tried to include as many people as I could. That way, everybody knew what they were doing and everybody was learning at the same time. And then I got kind of stuck on an island. So it really changed my perspective a lot, and just reminded me of how important a team is. So I branched out and started doing that. From there, I got a couple of national accounts and started working on some national cocktail menus and beverage programs and logistics and prep strategies and marketing and photo shoots and all that stuff. And I found a really good groove with it. I really enjoy it. I pivoted as well into sustainability. So right now, my main focus is helping restaurants achieve sustainable statuses behind their bars and kitchens and restaurants and things of that nature. Um, yeah, but so far that's what I got.
Cool. Oh, this is great. So the catalyst for you, and it's interesting because I always see, with entrepreneurs, there's some time in their life that they go like, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
I'm taking control now, right? It's almost like, and there's various factors that triggers that, and I'm grateful you share that with us because it's one of those like, okay, I'm not gonna depend on somebody else for my
Hmm.
survival. I'm I'm taking charge now. And as you said, there's always a little bit of a challenge at the beginning to, find your way, but looks like you're finding your stride, and this is great. Now I'm looking at Shaken and Stirred Hospitality, and
Sure.
it's you offer quite a bit of a one-shop stop, if you will, for hospitality and restaurants and things like this. Do you mind like telling me a little bit about how you ended up developing that those services
Yep.
for your clients?
Uh, there was I love knowing that your failures are what bring you knowledge, really. So what I tell people a lot of times when they're like, "Hey, how did you learn all this stuff?" or "Where did you get all this information?" or "Who trained you?" It's like, "I did by screwing something up." Uh, so I actually never really had a mentor or anything of that nature to bring me up. I was not a college degree in this industry whatsoever. I came up from being a bartender, going directly into a GM status with not barely even knowing how to work an Excel sheet. So, and there's not really, any schooling for some of these positions besides within restaurants, unless you're in a hospitality program at like a culinary institute or business management programs like that. So a lot of it was trial by fire. Thankfully, I have a really good instinct for business, I believe. I try to have a good palate retention. I understand guest relationships, I understand math really well. And uh, fortunately, I'm a big nerd too. So I really like the financial side of everything, which in a lot of my business, especially the beverage side, people tend to either go creative or finance, and they don't really mix very often. Uh, I know both of them very well. It's something I really enjoy. I love seeing the circular circle of how things are created that way.
That's awesome. So you mentioned like you get the finance and the creative aspect of it, and mixing them up and kind of like it's not even mixing them up, but merging them into a very unique skill set. Um, Tell me a little bit about this. How did you find your stride on this?
Well, it's you kind of get into a cadence, and confidence is a huge thing of it. I tell that to a lot of people that meet with entrepreneurs and people that are coming to new businesses and stuff like that is like just believing in yourself as much as you possibly can, and just knowing that you are going to make mistakes down the road, being okay with that, and then really getting your stride going that way. The more you do and all the little steps that you take really build your momentum. It's not one big fast here we go. It's a whole bunch of little interactions in between that really pick up steam.
Great. Well, that's awesome. Okay, good. Next question for you. Okay, so you build shaken and stirred hospitality
Yep.
from the ground up. Basically, from what I'm getting, it's like 2 years ago that thing was not existing, and all of a sudden it was like now we've got something that is a going
Mhm.
concern. Um, Now, what are the key core values? Because again, it's important to when you build a business that that's
Mhm.
the core values. It's really what gives that business its identity, if you will, right?
Yep.
I'm interested to know what are your core values? What's Shaken's and Stirred core values?
Trust is a big one, especially in any sort of beverage, alcohol, industry. Just having very solid trust, and we try to keep our word with everything we do. Creativity would be the next huge value, and sustainability.
Awesome. Good, good. And as you bring more people on board to work with you, how do you use those core values to select the right person from, somebody who might not be the right person to work with?
Well, uh, it's usually pretty quick in my arena. People, and I've been fortunate enough to really know some people for some very long time. So that people who have worked for me for years, or people that I've known through the industry for years, and I've been able to build and rely on those relationships quite a bit. I'm a big believer in my gut. If I don't have a good reaction with somebody in interaction a few times, there's usually a problem there somewhere, and it's just better to part ways. Always give everybody a fair shot and make sure everything's thoroughly communicated, and you actually are able to help try to bridge that gap, but sometimes it just doesn't work. So I usually tell people I try to hire people I trust my kids with.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to have the people that you can, again, trust is a big thing, like you mentioned, right? And I fully
Yep.
agree with you. I mean, if you can't trust as an executive, as a business owner, if you can't trust the people who you work with,
What's the point?
there's no future there. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
it will come to an end. You know, absolutely. It has to be. Now you're in the hospitality business, obviously. What do you find are the main challenges that your clients are encountering?
That's a broad question.
Uh,
Um, it's a
you
broad
know,
question. There's a lot of stuff that happened in my industry because of COVID.
mm,
Uh, so I've found that, we lost what 30% of our industry during COVID. It was a big
really,
number.
huh?
Yeah, it was a
That
huge
much?
number.
Wow.
And it was COVID was a nightmare for everyone, but it sparked something else. Like the guests really changed a lot during that time. Uh, Palates change, interests change, how they like to go dine changed. It all kind of changed real quick. And then when COVID was lifted and people were like, "Oh, hey, you can go back out," and none of our restaurants had staff. Like it
Oh,
was. I'll tell you that our restaurant that I was running, we had about six people working. And the first month we did like 100 grand. I was like, okay. And then we hired some more people back on, and then we did 200 grand. And then we hired some more people, and then it was 400 grand. And then all of a sudden we were like 800 grand in like 4 months with hardly any staff. So what I'm getting to this though is everybody lost a lot of time, a lot of training, and a lot of just back to basics because a lot of the flood from COVID with such the low number of employees inflated some of the profits in a weird way, and things weren't paid attention to quite as much. So a lot of what I've been trying to do is kind of retrain a little bit and bring things back to basics and teach people the math and the costing and costing strategies and how to write a menu and the basics like things you do to run a restaurant because a lot of these people are now new restaurant owners that just never really had any good training behind them and they have families and they have mortgages and everything else, so trying to seeing them fail is not fun.
nice. And what's your approach? Okay, so you get a new client, right?
Mhm.
Run the approach to me. How do you work with them? I'm interested on
Sure.
that.
I usually only get approached by business owners, which is good. But my approach is I'll go in and scope out and they'll give me some concerns and stuff that they're looking for if they're trying to fix something, and they will just ask for my opinion. Generally, is what I ask. I usually do a free consultation. Maybe they'll buy my tab just to have dinner or whatever, and I'll go evaluate the restaurant a few times. I usually do about 10 visits within 2 weeks in different day parts and just get a broad sense of everything that could be fixed within a restaurant. I write up a proposal of all the areas of concern and then give some very subtle solutions in a time frame and then kind of work out a pricing strategy and just come to an agreement from there. So not every one of them is the same. I wish I could just say, "Oh, I need you to fix this, 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 this," and like I almost put like something down on my website, like this is the services I offer, and you can click on them, and it costs this much, but it's all different.
Okay.
Yeah, you're working with the human element. You're working with business owners. You're working with landlords. You're working with all kinds of people. So you really need to just customize it and tailor it the best you can to the client to be the most efficient you can.
That's great. So basically, you go and spend some time at the restaurant, you observe
Mhm.
what's
Yeah,
what's happening.
yeah, you can't just assume, right? Like just assuming is it's gonna get you in trouble real quick. And every restaurant's got a personality. It's a restaurant's kind of like an organism. It's got a lifeblood.
Mhm.
It's got nooks and crannies and things and personalities and all of that stuff that you need to like kind of take into consideration. Like it could be simple as like you're just not hiring the right people. Like your restaurant runs fine, but let's either retrain some people or maybe find some new ones, and that should take care of your problem. Or it could be something as complicated as, hey, your chef doesn't know how to cook. You know,
You've seen that before?
Uh, yes, unfortunately with resumes, they do get inflated quite a bit. And with the rapidness of how information can spread and stuff, you can figure out how to kind of fake your way into a career a lot of times. But being a longtime industry vet, there's ways you can just kind of point those things out and be like, I don't think you know what you're talking about, man.
I don't know if you know how to cook this thing. Okay, that's great. Okay, interesting. Okay, yeah, it's a little bit the same thing in IT or
Okay,
various other places.
I could see that. Yeah, for sure.
You got people that they put this thing on IT. It's like I've done this and I've done that, and then you go like, okay, now do. And it's like, okay. At this point, you almost have to get them to. Okay, I got a question for you. Do you actually, in the hiring process, do you? I know I'm just getting interested now. Do you actually get the person to cook a meal for you to see if they can do a good job?
There's things, it depends on the level of hire.
Okay.
Okay. So for an hourly employee or something like that, I would not ask of that. I mean, generally, and a lot of times you'll find that back of the house employees who are the most important employees you possibly can, they've been around those cities quite a bit, so they all get kind of reputations of being good
Mhm.
at saute or being a really good egg guy or doing like that. And you start kind of seeing like a network of, oh, we should get this dude from here. We worked with him a couple of years ago to come do this egg thing. So you get a repertoire of employees in your head of how you can build. And then with chefs, though, yes, there is chef tasting and there's mixologist tasting too, and bar manager
Oh
tastings,
yeah, even push that.
um, sommelier tastings. But um, the yeah, you give them a concept and give them what I generally do is try is like, this is my concept and this is what I'm looking for. Can you devise me a short menu and then cook me a couple of your highlights? Um, and try to pick out, see what they usually go for. A lot of times they'll try to pick the easiest thing on the menu, and you're like, okay, can we add a couple more things and just make it to where they're showing off all their skills because it's their menu. They should be really proud to produce it.
Right. Nice, nice. Okay, this is great. I mean, it's an interesting viewpoint on hiring, which is different than other areas. I like to hear that. Okay, so now you've had your business for 2 years. It's growing. You're expanding. You're growing. This is great. What are your if you can give me two or three main takeaways since you've started and tips you could give to somebody who's a startup, who's starting up on their entrepreneurial journey. What would be your main takeaways, Alexander?
Uh, this is gonna sound like a strange one, but don't oversell yourself. Self. Uh, I have found that it can put you in a position to where you're overly stressed out. You are trying to scramble to get everything done, and you're trying to make a good impression, but is it your best work if you're totally oversold? No. Um, uh, give yourself grace. So if you are screwing up something, or if you are working for yourself and you realize, oh, I can kind of take today off or this day off or whatever, it's okay. Just make sure that you're actually getting everything done and don't put yourself in a position to where you can't. And just go for it. That's the biggest one. The biggest thing hurdle that I have and still have to this day is so like just making that big first leap. The universe usually takes care of you, and you'll figure it out. The answers open up.
Open up and go for it, right?
Yeah.
That's great. And also, I don't know if you agree with me, but be willing to make some mistakes.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Get your hands dirty, right? No analysis, no paralysis by analysis. You
Yep.
know, you don't have to get it per you hear that, you don't have to get it perfect, just get it going,
Yep.
right? And
Exactly.
as you go, then you're able to see really where you're going and all that. Okay, then this is great. Um, Very good information. Thank you so much for sharing this with
Yep.
us,
Of
Alexander. I
course.
really appreciate that. I'd like to finish this by a little bit more of a okay, so what's in store in 2025 for you, Alexander, and Shaken and Stir Hospitality?
I have a whole bunch of good stuff happening right now. Currently going to be trying to get a brick and mortar restaurant open this year. So this will be one of like five concepts that I have. So um, getting in with a business partner, kind of starting a new restaurant. It's been 2 years since I've been in a restaurant, which has been nice, but you kind of miss it sometimes.
Mhm.
I'm at the tail end of writing my cocktail book. So I'm writing a zero waste cocktail book called Wasted. It's a zero waste cocktail journey.
Okay.
So that's been a really fun challenge. I've been able to really dive into zero waste applications for cocktails and find some really creative solutions of just, using really useless parts of fruits and vegetables and things and like turning them into something really cool. So I'm excited for that. And then I get to do speaking at the Bar and Restaurant Association in March. That'll be fun. And this one speech will be about pricing paradoxes and kind of smart pricing strategies that will keep you in competition with the rest without overpricing.
Awesome. Well, you got a busy year ahead of you, huh?
Hopefully, gotta be.
So, okay, so you're gonna open a restaurant, you're gonna be publishing a book. I mean, again, this is really cool. I like the title as well. That's pretty that it's punchy. Um, and okay, so what about Shaken and Stir? What's gonna happen with that?
I mean, that's gonna house everything.
Oh,
So
okay.
Shake and Stern will be my main hospitality branch, and then the LLCs will live under Shake and Stern Hospitality. So it will be just a network that keeps continues to grow because I want to
Right.
grow this more than just consulting and events and festivals and stuff. I'd like to have like a full-on crew, full-on staff, full-on executive team.
It's great. Okay, well. I like the idea. This is exciting. I'm very happy to be able to hear all that from you and
I
to
appreciate
to
it.
share that for you to share your journey with us. This is great. I'm sure that the people that are watching the podcast are really going to be appreciative of all that. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Pretty much at the end of this here podcast. So again, I wish you a great 2025, and the future looks bright for you, Alexander.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, keep in touch.
Yes, of course we will. All right,
Yeah.
good. So at this point, I'm going to be ending the podcast. So thank you very much.
Mhm.
Bye bye for now.
Take it easy.